These days, domestic first class in the United States usually means a bigger chair and, if you're lucky, a snack. But on a handful of routes, American Airlines offers what they claim is a truly differentiated experience called Flagship First. Watch this video to decide whether you think it's really the only true first class.
Hello, Jet Setters. I'm Jeb Brooks from greenergrass.com. Right now I'm at New York's Kennedy International Airport, but it's time for me to head out to LA. I'm flying with American Airlines. I hope you'll join me as we check out this amazing experience. Let's go get checked in.
It'll take us 5 hours and 10 minutes to make the nearly 2,500-mile flight at an altitude of 36,000 feet. When you're traveling in first class, your premium experience begins the moment you arrive at JFK. Flagship First passengers don't trouble themselves with this vast open space, no. Instead, they step behind a nearby semi-secret door and enter a dedicated check-in area. From there, it's a quick TSA security check and you'll find yourself out here in the stunning American Airlines terminal. Right now, domestic Flagship First is available on flights between JFK and San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Orange County, California. In addition, 777-300s flying between LAX and Miami offer the service. But what is it? Well, in addition to the dedicated check-in counter we saw, Flagship First cabins are different from most domestic first-class seats in that they offer passengers the opportunity to experience direct aisle access from each seat. In the past, you would have also had access to dedicated lounges with upgraded a la carte dining. Unfortunately, the Flagship First Lounge and dining is not running as of the publication of this video, but I did have access to the Flagship Lounge, which was operating as a less exclusive Admirals Club in Terminal 8. But before I checked that out, I wanted to head over there to our gate area to see the unique Airbus A321T that would take us across the North American continent.
Traveling in New York always feels good, and being at JFK is a real highlight.
The A321T is unique in that it's a true three-class narrow-body airplane here in the U.S. There are economy seats laid out in a 3-3 configuration, lay-flat business class seats in a 2-2 configuration, and lay-flat first-class seats laid out in a 1-1 configuration. We're going to take a walk through the entire cabin when we're on our way to see it all.
Well, I guess I'm pretty early, and as nice as that gate area is, I think the lounge is even nicer.
Despite the fact this wasn't being operated as a true Flagship First Lounge, it was still a nice place to relax. It was not hard to find a place to sit. The food selections, which were set for breakfast, were minimal, especially when you compare them to what Delta offers over at their Sky Club in Terminal 4. This is disappointing when you consider what a differentiator the food service used to be for Flagship First, but these are different times. There was a full bar, and even showers. Magazines are but a memory now. The lounge filled up with time, and the buffet changed over to lunch at about 11. It was still basic, but a bit more appealing to me anyway. This dining room was closed.
It's a great lounge, very nice, but not quite like it was in the before times. I flew Flagship First a few years ago, and it was a completely different experience. Hopefully, not too much has changed in the sky, but we'll find out in a few minutes.
And those few minutes passed quickly.
Let's get on this bird.
I made my way back over to the other side, stopping along the way to admire the large number of 777s American has dedicated to domestic flights. Which brings up a good point. Because there's not much international flying going on these days, you'll have chances to fly in unique cabins on wide-body aircraft domestically, but those still aren't quite the same as this dedicated narrow-body airplane I'm about to board.
I am so excited to try it out. Let's go get on board.
There was just enough time to watch the final bags get loaded.
Gate area's a little bit more busy now, which makes sense. We're getting close to boarding time.
Boarding was on time, and the first-class cabin is arranged in a unique 1-1 configuration. My seat, 5F, would do the trick on this 5-hour flight. The seat is massive, and frankly, I would have been comfortable sitting here for a flight twice as long. There's storage in front of you and beside you. Passengers get a plush pillow and blanket. There's a sanitizing wipe, of course. Headphones, which subscribers will not be surprised to hear I didn't really use, #Bose QC20s. There was a bottle of water and an amenity kit, which we'll open up later. There are plenty of seat adjustments, plugs, and a remote control. There's a universal plug, as well as headphone jacks, USB power, and some kind of adapter from the mid-90s. I still don't know what this does. It was very humid outside, and as a result, water vapor formed in the cabin.
Good afternoon. We'd like to welcome you to American Airlines. So it's 5 hours, 10 minutes will be flying time today. Here at the Los Angeles area, weather partly cloudy, skies 65 degrees.
There's even a step to make it easier to reach the overhead bin. And speaking of those bins, there were plenty for the 10 passengers in the cabin. Just before the door closed, the dedicated flight attendant came back and asked me a question I hadn't heard in more than a year. Would you like something to drink before we depart? I was at first speechless, but somehow I found the words gin, tonic, and please.
Cheers.
Now, I recognize it's completely indulgent and probably even selfish, but being offered a pre-departure beverage, or PDB, was a reminder of the past. It was something I didn't even know how much I missed. We were off the ground in no time, leaving New York behind with dreams of Hollywood coursing through the cabin. The water vapor is completely normal on a hot, humid day like the one I took this trip, and as we climbed through 10,000 feet, I looked through those clouds to check out the IFE. The in-flight entertainment was, in a word, terrible. I couldn't get it to work, and then it finally crashed completely. I asked for help, and our flight attendant told me how to reset it. I had to press a button for 15 seconds. I found American's IFE to be the least reliable in the sky. The touchscreen features are difficult for me to make work, and the remotes seem to be sticky a lot of the time. Once the IFE reset was finally complete and I was able to navigate it, there were plenty of options. I just had to be ginger with how I interacted with it. The amenity kit included all of the basics you'd want on a flight like this. There's an armrest that has to be stowed for taxi, takeoff, and landing, but it's really nice because it makes it possible to get out of the seat even if you're using the tray table to eat or work. Speaking of the tray table, it's large by domestic standards, and coupled with the huge shelf beside you, it's possible to work, eat, and, if you can get the IFE working, watch entertainment all at the same time. Internet access was available, but I couldn't get it to work on my laptop. This was completely user error because my phone connected with no problem. I paid the $22 to access it because I had emails I really needed to deal with. It was fast and reliable once I connected. Perhaps a pass could be included with a first-class ticket, but maybe that's asking for too much, I don't know. Anyway, I settled into my seat, tested the supplied headphones, enjoyed of the fruits of the drinks service, and went back to using my own headphones. Lunch was soon served. You'll receive an email a few days before your flight and will be invited to pre-order. I picked the short rib, but other options included a grain and greens bowl, rigatoni, or sea bass. That said, look at all of the dietary-specific meal choices available. That's incredible. The short rib was tasty and came with barbecue sauce along with vegetables, a small salad, bread, and dessert. When I flew Flagship First a few years ago, I was told the food was the same in business and first, just plated differently. Is that still the case? If you know, please leave a comment below. Again, this is a unique airplane in the US, so I thought I'd take a stroll through the cabin. The The airplane has 36 main cabin seats in a 3-3 configuration, each with 31 inches of pitch and between 17 and 18 inches of width. There are another 36 main cabin extra seats. They're just like the regular economy seats, but with more pitch, topping off at 35 inches. The 20 flagship business seats are 19 inches wide and arranged in a 2-2 configuration. They offer 75 inches of flat bed length. And those 10 open suites, like mine in Flagship First, yield 21 inches of width and up to 82.5 inches of flat bed length. This was a daytime flight, so I was not going to sleep, but in an effort to show you the fully flat seat, I set up my bed.
Considering this is a narrow-body airplane, this is like a super comfortable bed. It's pretty wide, and then the footwell is really comfortable. It's the herringbone design. It just really works in this airplane. This is a really nice first-class product. I wish more carriers would do this in the U.S.
Up front, throughout the flight, you'll find sweet and savory snacks laid out. It's worth noting you really will want to bring your own headphones. American collects them 30 minutes before landing, and if you're in the middle of some good content, that can be pretty disappointing. Let's take a look at the JebScore. I'll rate this flight on 5 factors, each from 0 to 5 stars. We'll look at the lounge, the seat, the food, the IFE, and the service. This unscientific approach I have to comparing flights is something I've been doing for a while, and if I learned anything from the Transcon throwdown from a few years ago, it's tough to compare a true first-class experience like this with a business-class experience from other airlines. And that's why I always say this is subjective, but here goes. First, the lounge. It wasn't what it once was, and with fewer first-class seats than ever before, I cannot fault American for closing the first-class lounge. But the lounge just wasn't as nice as others that other airlines are offering right now. When I think about, for example, Honolulu, a non-hub for United, it's a significantly nicer club than this one, one of American's main hubs, so sorry. This earns the airline 2 stars. Second, the seat. It's nothing short of incredible, and while it doesn't have the door that some Delta One suites offer, I find that anything short of a fully enclosed suite like in Emirates 777 is a bit of a gimmick anyway, so this seat earns a solid 5 stars. Now the food. It was very tasty and filling, and I loved having access to snacks up front throughout the flight. That's a true first-class experience. This was 5 stars. The IFE was terrible. It's always been bad. The screen was big, but JetBlue wins there. The one in the Mint Studio is even bigger. Look, this IFE earns 1 star because at least it eventually worked. The service was great. Our flight attendant was fantastic. She was proactive and friendly. She reminded me of what service used to be like. Service earns 5 stars on this flight. So that leaves American Airlines Flagship First service on the A321T with 18 out of 25 stars. Overall, this was a really nice way to cross the country. It still felt special to fly in a true first-class cabin, but if I had the choice of A321s to fly on this route, you're probably going to find me on board JetBlue. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments below. Between now and the next time, see you in the sky.